Welcome to another spooky campfire story, created with AI assistance. So get cozy. Remember, that tingle you feel on the back of your neck, maybe it's not just a chill breeze.
I gazed at my longtime friends Trevor, Helen, Sarah, and Maya, taking in the familiar smiles and laughs we had shared since high school as we hiked through the dense forest. Trevor's adventurous spirit had led us on exploits before, but his new girlfriend Sarah was just as adventurous. Helen brought a more cautious voice of reason to balance out all our adventures. Ever positive Maya brimmed with enthusiasm, while wary Sarah eyed our surroundings skeptically, already doubtful of what we might discover. We stumbled upon a mammoth concrete structure being reclaimed slowly by knotted tree roots and creeping ivy tendrils. Trevor surged ahead eagerly, brushing vines aside to reveal a weathered iron door, and grinned with the anticipatory delight of a child seeing buried treasure. An abandoned lab out here? We have to explore it. Sarah squealed excitedly. As we entered the facility, the thick metal door slammed shut behind us with a hiss. I glanced back with a shiver, feeling suddenly cut off from the outside world. My friends' odd voices echoed off containment chamber walls meant to muffle screams. It was a maze of shadows, the weak emergency lights barely enough to dispel the gloom. As we entered the facility, the air became thick with the scent of forgotten experiments. The walls echoed with the distant hum of machinery, long left untouched. Our footsteps resonated through the empty corridors, creating an unsettling cadence that seemed to mimic the heartbeat of the forsaken laboratory. The abandoned desks held mysterious documents, marked with faded symbols and codes we couldn't decipher. It was as if the government had left in a hurry, leaving behind a puzzle waiting to be unraveled. As we delved deeper into the unknown, the flickering lights cast eerie shadows that danced on the walls, whispering secrets long kept in the darkness. The silence of the laboratory was broken only by the occasional creaking of doors and the rustling of papers disturbed by an unseen force. Each room we entered revealed a new layer of mystery, as if the laboratory itself held its breath, waiting to share its untold stories. Little did we know that our decision to explore this forgotten place would unravel a chain of events that transcended time and tested the limits of our understanding. The adventure was just beginning, and the secrets buried within the abandoned government laboratory were about to rewrite the history we thought we knew. As we ventured deeper into the abandoned facility, we entered what appeared to be some kind of laboratory. Dusty beakers and vials lined the counters, and an antique microscope sat neglected in the corner. The air held an odd, medicinal scent, like that of a long-forgotten infirmary. "Hey Han," Sarah said with a smile. "While you guys are looking in here, I'm going to explore the other rooms." "Hold on Han, I'll come with you," Trevor said with concern. "Nah," she laughed, "I'm a big girl, I can take care of myself," she said as she almost skipped away. My friend Trevor turned back and picked up a notebook sitting open on one of the lab benches. Its pages were filled with indecipherable scribbles and diagrams. Complex chemical formulas and molecular structures were scrawled alongside cryptic notes in hurried handwriting. "What do you think they were studying here?" he asked, furrowing his brow as he tried to make sense of the notebook's contents. The scientific mysteries contained within those pages were beyond our comprehension. I examined a faded photograph of a howling, tortured creature mid-transformation titled Experiment 34B. What sort of depraved human experiments had happened here? A faint animalistic cry echoed down the empty halls, making me jump. Trevor whistled low as he rifled through documents too damaged to read. "What do you think this place was for?" I shook my head grimly. "Nothing good." A deafening crash exploded, the shuddering boom sounding like detonation. I flung my arms back, blocking Helen and Maya behind me. Heart racing, we exchanged panicked looks and cautiously went to inspect, finding catastrophic ruin. I met Maya's resigned eyes, as if she already expected the worst from this place. "Let's go back," she urged. But morbid fascination pulled us further towards the sound. Finding a collapsed shelf and scattered papers strewn across the floor was a bit of a letdown. Had someone else entered the abandoned facility despite its remote location? We strained our ears for any sign of an intruder, but heard nothing except the hammering of my own heart. I peered down at one of the fallen documents, examining a diagram that appeared to depict the human brain. Certain areas were highlighted and notations filled the margins, almost like someone had been mapping regions of neurological function. The header at the top of the page read, Project Cronus, in bold, official-looking font. "Guys, I think this place might have been some kind of research center for the government," I said. "Some of these papers make it seem like they were doing experiments on the human mind. Maybe even brainwashing or mind control?" A cold wave of unease washed over us. What exactly had we stumbled upon? And what was Project Cronus? The air itself seemed to grow heavier with the weight of forgotten horrors this facility contained. Inside one laboratory, we found old footage of experiments conducted on a shape-shifting creature. The videos were disturbing, showing the creature changing form and becoming increasingly aggressive. As we watched, we heard strange noises echoing from deep inside the lab, and we realized that the creature could still be here, lurking in the shadows of the corridors. The tension in the air thickened as the realization set in. The creature from the experiments wasn't just a memory confined to those old tapes. It was alive, and it was out there, somewhere in the darkness of the lab. The eerie noises outside the lab grew louder, echoing through the corridors and sending shivers down our spines. We all huddled together, fear on our faces. Maya almost let out a scream, but Trevor managed to stop her. The other girls grabbed hold of us lads. I guess they thought we could defend them. My blood turned to ice as a blood-curdling scream erupted from deep within the distant corridors. Helen squeezed my arm harder. We all froze, exchanging panicked looks. Adrenaline flooded my veins as my fight-or-flight response kicked in. Then Trevor let out a laugh. And with a sigh said, "Sarah. I'll kill her." He almost sounded annoyed. "She's trying to frighten us. We need to get out of here," I whispered urgently. But more unearthly shrieks and wails reverberated through the dark corridors outside, and no way did they sound like someone trying to prank us. It sounds like the agonized cries of a wounded animal, something inhuman and feral. Helen whispered. We fled from the laboratory, stumbling blindly through the darkened corridors. The emergency exit sign glowed faintly ahead, offering our only escape. But as we neared the door, the ceiling light began to flicker. A loud crash came from the hallway behind us, followed by a ghostly moaning that seemed to seep from the very walls. All the girls and us lads all screamed in unison. I grabbed the exit door's handle and pulled with all my might. Trevor came to my assistance, but it refused to budge. We were trapped. Breathing hard, I spun around to face whatever was approaching from the darkness. Strange shadows crept along the walls, growing ever closer. The moans took on a chattering, insect-like quality. "Where's Sarah?" Trevor screamed frantically. Out of the gloom, a misshapen creature dragged itself into view. My lungs seized in my chest. The thing's flesh writhed and bubbled, formless features blurring into one another. It seemed unable to settle on one nightmarish shape. My mind reeled. This was the same mutable horror we had seen experimented upon in the old tapes. In its madness and pain, it had turned the abandoned facility into its lair. And now it had found fresh prey. Screams, panicking bodies rushing at the exit door like moths to a light, hoping that the door would fly open, releasing us from this horror madness. As the hideous creature came close, we all stood frozen. The sight was too much to comprehend. It had Sarah in its grasp. Sarah's terrified cries echoed through the corridors, blending with the creature's guttural growls. Her screams fading as it tore into her body. Poor Trevor dropped to his knees, begging the creature to return Sarah safely to him. Our flashlights flickered in the darkness as we realized we had no other way out but to confront the horrifying sight. The creature, its form ever-changing, was a nightmarish silhouette against walls. With adrenaline coursing through our veins, we had to make a split-second decision. The creature lunged at us, and we fought back with everything we had. The struggle between the unknown entity and our group reached its peak, each moment a heart-pounding battle for survival. My muscles burned with exertion as I swung a heavy 2x4 broken workbench leg at the creature, trying desperately to drive it back. No matter what horrific form it took, we had to save ourselves. It cried out in agony as its amorphous limbs were beaten with anything we could find. We fought hard, even the girls seemed to find an inner strength. Summoning every ounce of courage, I leapt onto the creature's back, pummeling it with my makeshift club. It recoiled with an ear-splitting shriek, flesh bubbling and tentacles writhing. Seizing the opportunity, my friends rushed past to freedom from the honorific scene. We all ran gasping and shaken, our clothes shredded from the attack. The creature, it lay momentarily stunned, wavered on its haunches, a window of opportunity. The lab! I bellowed. Get back inside. We fled as an enraged, alien roar shook the foundations behind us. Bursting through the doors, we quickly barricaded them with storage crates and lab equipment. The creature slammed against the door, wailing furiously at being denied its prey. My heart was hammering wildly out of my chest. Peering out a slit in the barricade, I watched the creature pace erratically outside. The glimpses I caught of its face were different each time, human, then animal, then something wholly unnatural and defying description. We may have escaped the immediate threat, but we were still trapped inside this labyrinthine facility, with depraved secrets around every corner. And something told me that freakish experiment was far from finished with us. We all crying with guilt and despair knowing we hadn't managed to save our friend Sarah, we tried to reassure each other that the creature was a monstrous, unstoppable force. And we were forced to flee, leaving Sarah's lifeless body behind. Our minds raced with fear and determination as we sought a solution to the unfolding nightmare. With each second, the weight of the laboratory's secrets bore down on us, urging us to uncover a solution to our escape and also put an end to the creature's reign of terror. We discovered that the creature was weakened by bright light when Helen tried to film her with her cell phone using the torch as light source. We all pulled out our cell phones, surged with new hope, and we used the bright flashlights to drive it away. But the experience left us shaken, and we knew that the abandoned laboratory and the shape-shifting terror would haunt us for a long time to come. As the creature recoiled from our flashlights, shrieking in agony, we seized the opportunity to sprint along the corridor and crashed through the entrance door into the woods. The beams of light acted as beacons cutting through the darkness, guiding our frantic escape. We crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping our arms and sides. But adrenaline drowned out the pain. At that moment, all that mattered was getting as far away from that place of secrets and horrors as possible. I risked a glance back, breath catching in my throat. For an instant, I thought I saw a pair of glowing eyes tracking us from the shadows. But then they blinked out, and all was still. We ran until the abandoned facility was far behind us, nothing more than a bad memory. As dawn's light crept over the horizon, I knew we were safe. But questions still ate at me. What had they been doing to that poor creature? What was Project Cronus? And were there others like it still trapped within that labyrinth of nightmares? I looked at my friends, faces still stricken with lingering fear. But there was a grim determination in their eyes. Our ordeal had bonded us in a way few could understand. Someday, when we had gathered our courage, we would return to bring justice and closure. The secrets buried there were too dangerous to remain unearthed. For now, though, we were simply grateful to see the light of a new day.
The end. If you enjoyed this spooky story, please like, subscribe for another spooky campfire story, and please leave a comment.